threshold, step 5. Right? So what you'll notice is that at the top, it's the ordinary world. So as you're moving from, the beginning to here, all of this is the ordinary world, right? Just is what it is. But once you cross that threshold, you start to go into this special world, right? That is where the magic happens. This would be equivalent to where people say, you've probably seen the picture, here's your comfort zone, right? And then there's like a point out here, this is where the magic happens, right? The magic doesn't happen inside your comfort zone. The magic happens outside of your comfort zone. And Campbell's monomyth, it's called the special world. It's the same freaking thing. I love how this paradigm, how this model of the world just fits so well with all of these other things that we've heard as we've grown up and we've been told or we've discovered through reading. So crossing to the threshold, that is really the first major step into moving to this new adventure. And then once you're in there, you have step 6, right? Tests, allies, and enemies. And so this is exactly what it sounds like. You're in this new environment, you're in this new world, this new space, and you're being tested, right? And it makes sense because that's what we do as humans. When we evolve, we're testing. We're testing ourselves out, we're testing the environment out, we're testing the vehicle that we're in, and as you're going through this process, you will identify allies, people that are on your side, they're on your team, they want to help you through the journey, either consciously or unconsciously, they're your allies. And then of course, there's your enemies. You're going to find out there's those people you probably should stay away from. Again, in the Star Wars world, come on, if you can't think of who the allies were of Luke and the enemies, then I don't know that I can help you. Think about this in your own life, right? If you're not into movies and stories or read a book, if you've never done any of these things and you can't relate to this, please drop a comment and let me know. I will find a way to help you relate to this. But if none of that works for you, take the real world. If you've ever started a new school or a new job, or you've gone into a new group or club, social interaction occurs, right? There's a process there. And I guarantee you, within the first interaction, you've identified at least one person who you like, who might be your buddy, or you say, gosh, I'm going to talk to them next time I go there. I think I could be their friend, or I think they could be my friend. And then I guarantee you there's at least one person where you're like, oh, just gonna watch out for that person, right? Maybe not they're your enemy, like they're going to kill you, but they aren't your ally, right? So if none of the movie, comic, books, none of that relates to you, first of all, I'm sorry that you're in that situation. But if you are there, real life, this happens in real life. Again, the power of this model of the world is just undeniably applicable to anyone throughout all of history, anywhere in the world. It's insane how applicable this is. Sorry, that section gets me geeked out. The next one is the approach, right? Step 7 is the approach. So we're getting toward the bottom of the special world. So this is after all of that formation happens with your allies and your enemies, and you're testing the waters. You kind of get into the groove, right? You're now your new normal. That's the phrase we all love to say, right? The new normal. Your special world is now the world. There's less of a constant comparison of where you are to where you used to be. You just are where you are. You're in the zone. Some would call it you're in the flow, right? You're in a flow state. You're going through the process of growing and evolving. With all the tests and allies and enemies and challenges, you're just doing what you need to do. And then you get into the 8th step, which is the ordeal, death, rebirth. So this is also known as your innermost cave, right? This is typically the crescendo of the movie or the plot where it's the most difficult part of the journey. Star Wars, probably the one I would think to as a child of the 80s would be Empire Strikes Back, when Luke gets his arm chopped off and he's hanging over that massive cavernous thing up in the sky cloud city, and Vader says, Luke, I am the Father. I mean, right? That was like, holy shit. Any kid that was watching that was like, what? right? I mean, but that is the innermost journey for him. That was the innermost cave. That was like the worst of the worst it could be. Here is this young boy on a hydration sand planet, living his everyday life, goes through this journey, meets Obi-Wan Kenobi, starts learning about the Force and da-da-da, and the good and the bad, and the light and the dark, and the epitome of the worst thing in the universe or the galaxy is this guy called Darth Vader with a dumbass looking hat. And then he finds out it's his dad. How effed up is that, right? So now, let's take it down a notch. In your everyday life, it may not be that dramatic. Okay, it's not that dramatic. But I guarantee you, as you're going through a personal growth journey, your hero's journey, again, looking back at those instances where you've made this cycle and you didn't know you were making this cycle, now you can be like, oh shit, that was my innermost journey. That was my innermost cave. That was the ordeal, the death, or the rebirth. Because what happens is when you go through that event, you come out. You are reborn. You have new perspective, because the thing that you perceived was the thing that was going to kill you, metaphorically, or some people think legitimately, but mostly metaphorically. It didn't. You're like, I'm winning, right? I'm alive. I can conquer this. If I can do that, I can do anything. That is this phase, right? This is huge. This is tough. And most people don't even allow themselves to go through the journey to get there. They wimp out and they say no thank you and they leave the movie theater, right? Or they check out of life and they go back to complacency. Not you, right? This is where you're going to realize, because now you know about this model. When you see this approaching, you're not going to get scared and run. You're going to say, hot damn, I can make this happen, right? So then what happens is you make it through and you're in step 9, which is reward. Seizing the sword. Reward. Seizing the sword, right? So kind of a reference to the sword and the stone. But again now, going back to Luke, he's a full-fledged Jedi now. He's really embraced who he is in this role, the Force. He recognizes the boundaries and the differences, and he's doing the lightsabering and the moving of the rocks and the talking to Yoda, all that good stuff. He's there. Same thing with Neo, right? Neo, his ordeal, death and rebirth was literally that, right? That happened in the movie, and then he was reborn. And so he was seizing the reward, right? And his ability to control and manipulate the Matrix, okay? So all that's in the special world. But then what happens is you start the road back, right? You start to go back because you're now so empowered and you're so successful and you've grown to the point where you've invested so heavily in this journey that you're ready to go back now and let everybody know. Like, you're ecstatic, you're happy, you're like, listen to this is incredible, you won't believe what happened to me, maybe over a beer, I don't know, right? But that's what the road back is. And during the road back, it's not like there's challenges, like there's the bad guys typically on your tails or on your tail, right? And it's not easy. Sometimes you have to go through some more trials and tribulations to get back because they don't want you to go back, right? And think about that in everyday life, right? There's haters, right? There's haters. There are people that they say mediocrity critiques excellence. I think I butchered that. Maybe on Phase Try 2 I'll get that. But mediocrity hates excellence, right? People want you to be miserable with them. They don't want you to get better than them or succeed. And this is a really tough pill to swallow, especially when it comes to your involvement in this journey and then your closest friends and family, because you think, gosh, they're going to be so happy for me, because that's what you want them to be. But what you come to find out is it's not always the case, right? In general, that's a thing. Because what happens is people form an evaluation of you back up here. They know you as that person, Luke, on the sand farm, or Neo, dorky little computer guy. And then all of a sudden you show up as this badass mofo with a black, facade on, and you can fly and you can manipulate code, or you can wield a light sword or whatever. People are like, whoa, 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 that's not Luke. Whoa, that's not Neo. Whoa, right? So the resurrection occurs through that, because you're coming back into the normal world as this next level person, right? And there's a lot of unpack in that one because of that dynamic that I was just talking about. It's a very tricky thing. There are people that I have known, that I have been coaching, where they really struggle with that, because what they have to do is they have to disconnect, right? They have to realize that those people aren't holding space for them to be a better version of themselves. And so every time there's an interaction, it's a negative interaction. And that person's now in a place where they can't deal with that. They don't need that crap. They don't want that. So why would they want to interact with that person? And so they sever connections. If you haven't experienced that, I guess congratulations, but at the same time, maybe not congratulations, because maybe you got to that point in your journey and you thought you needed that relationship, that negative relationship, more than your personal growth. So it's a really tricky section. There's probably going to be a lot of video on that one. It's a tough one. And then the last step is returning with the elixir. Returning with the elixir, right? So this is, you are back, baby, and you are better than ever. You are a full-blown Jedi Master. You are the one. You are the anomaly in the Matrix. You can control Ish left and right and make the sun set and fly and whatever, rage against the machine. And baby, that is the hero's journey. But I was just so motivated to get this out there to you guys, to express and explain what this is. Before we get into the rest of the book, I hope this helps. I hope you find value. Hit like, hit subscribe. Please send a comment. Spread this to your friends. Thank you so much. I have 27 subscribers. I think that's the most people I've ever had listen to me my entire life. Shift happens. Peace.